So I'm going to be showing you how to graft together the two ends of your tube for your Steadfast Fellowship cowl. You are going to be taking the stitches that we had provisionally cast on at the start of the cowl and the live stitches you just finished working with after you finished the last garter stitch section here. First thing, you want to take the provisionally cast on stitches off of the waste yarn that they were on and put them on a circular needle. Preferably the same size circular needle that we've been working with this whole time, size 2, but if you have a slightly larger or slightly smaller needle, it's not going to be the end of the world. So pop those bad boys on here, and then you're going to put the first stitch that you worked in the cowl here on a removable stitch marker or a lobster claw progress keeper, like I have this little Dole Whip here. So next step is to get your tail that we're going to be using to work the Kitchener stitch, and that will be the yarn that you were using in the garter stitch section and the cables, and you're going to cut it so that you have as much as 4 times the circumference of your tube. And the color work and cables have a tendency to pull together a little bit, as you can see, so you might want to go a 5th time around or really stretch out your knitting to make sure that you have the full amount that we're going to need to go and do this Kitchener stitch. Then you're going to pop another removable stitch marker or progress keeper on the what would have been the first stitch of the next round if we were continuing to knit, and we're going to leave those guys in and we will use them at the end. So you just need to line up your 2 stitches that have the progress keepers on them next to each other, and then we're just going to be working a Kitchener stitch pretty much as normal. If you've ever grafted the end of a toe on a sock, this is the same process. These would be the end of our toe stitches, but instead we're going to work around in a nice big circle around our tubes. So because we are working in the round and not just doing like the end of a toe that would be just 2-sided, we don't need to do a set up stitch for our Kitchener stitch. So you're just going to go in the front needle knitwise and pull your whole big long tail through there, and then pop that guy off. And then you will go through the next stitch purlwise, don't pop it off yet, and go through the back stitch purlwise, pop it off, then knitwise through the back, and that is one set of stitches off. So we're all ready to go. Keep going. We're going to go knitwise through the next stitch, pop it off, purlwise through this stitch, purlwise through the back, pop it off, knitwise through the back, well, knitwise on the back, through the back doesn't really make sense, and leave it there. If you have a hard time remembering Kitchener stitch, it's basically knitwise on the front needle, pull it off, purlwise on the front needle, purlwise on the back needle, pull it off, knitwise on the back needle, and then you go back to the front. And we're going to do that the whole way around for all of these stitches, so I will come back to you when I have finished that. Okay, so we have done the Kitchener stitch all the way around our tubes. They are connected as one big long giant tube now, which is exciting. You can see it kind of hides in between these garter stitch rows there, which is nice. And we have stopped when we have 2 stitches left, one on each, on the back and the front needle, and we're going to do these last 2 a little bit differently using the stitches that we put on these removable stitch markers before. So you're going to do these pretty similar to how we've been going, but what we're going to be doing is using these like they were the next stitch on the needle. So we're gonna go knitwise into the stitch on the front needle, and we're gonna get rid of that front needle. We don't need it anymore. And then, because we don't have a stitch on our next needle, we're gonna take that front stitch that we put on the removable stitch marker and go purlwise through that stitch as if this removable stitch marker was the needle. You can take that stitch marker off then. And now we're going to go purlwise through this back needle with that last stitch. You can take that needle out then, pull it through, and same thing, this last stitch that is being held by the removable stitch marker, we're gonna go knitwise through that. And then we are done. That is how you finish it off. Pull everything tight, and then you can just weave in your end using duplicate stitch along this garter stitch end, block out your cowl, and you'll be all good to go.